Hello and welcome back to my channel. This is the first episode in a mini-series titled Isolation Station, and I want to talk about something that's very, I think it's very relevant at the moment. I'm having lots of conversations with friends and family, and they are talking about that they're tired or they're struggling to stay focused, or their usual routine is going out the window, or their workout is harder to do than usual, and they don't understand why. It doesn't seem to make sense to them, but it makes complete sense to me because I have almost 2 years of experience living in isolation due to my chronic illness, an illness that is massively affected by stress. And I also have some experience in dealing with trauma and PTSD. I want to try and touch on today why people are more exhausted and struggling to focus and maintain usual structure through the knowledge that I have from my own experience. I do have some notes written down because I do want to get it right. So let's get started. The main thing that I want to parallel this with is all of the productivity preachers, which are all over at the moment. There are newspaper articles, online blogs, social media posts, all talking about how you can make the most out of this opportunity. And I even saw one post that said, if you don't come out of this quarantine with either a new skill, starting what you've been putting off like a new business, or more knowledge, you didn't ever lack the time, you lacked the discipline. Now, this is not helpful, in my view, whatsoever. It almost feels like some of the writers of these posts have completely disregarded the fact that there is a global pandemic happening, that not only we were not expecting, but we were not expecting it, so completely unprepared for it, but we've also never experienced it before. People are anxious, overwhelmed, and they're frightened, and all of this pressure to be productive is only adding to all of that initial angst. So the two things that I would like to highlight today, I'm going to start with number one. I'm going to start with this. What's happening right now is causing a great deal of stress in everyone, and for some people it's more or less a traumatic response. When trauma or a stress-heavy event occurs, the body reacts both physiologically and psychologically, a response that's more commonly known as the fight, flight, freeze response. Regardless of which of those is chosen to be appropriate in the situation, the chemical reaction is the same. Physiologically, adrenaline and cortisol, the stress hormone, get released to help us deal with the danger that we have been presented with, which increases your heart rate, your breathing, your perception on pain, amongst other things. And psychologically, we're reacting to a situation or a thing that has a negative connotation to it. In relation to what's going on right now, the majority of people are experiencing this reaction, except we can't actively fight it, neither can we fly away from it or escape it, and freezing, a response that is usually used to help give us more time to figure out an escape plan, is also completely redundant right now. So we are avoiding. We have been told to avoid. We are avoiding people, going out unnecessarily, and our regular lives. Because the fear is very much still here, and so are the trauma and stress responses. Our adrenal systems are completely overloaded right now, and that causes symptoms from fatigue and exhaustion to lack of concentration and focus. Psychologically, the current worldwide circumstance could be triggering for people who have already experienced a traumatic event, whether that is a physical or sexual assault, childhood trauma, if they've been part of an accident or a natural disaster, or anything else that could cause someone to have post-traumatic stress disorder or PTSD. For these people, their body's responses are even more heightened, and they may be experiencing increased anxiety on top of what they already are used to. And this is the same for those of us that already suffer from a mental health condition, whether that be an anxiety disorder, depression, bipolar, OCD, and the many others that we know are out there. This added anxiety and this re-triggering for people who have experienced something awful in their lives already is an addition to everything else that they're already dealing with, and this is going to cause exhaustion, fatigue, lack of focus and concentration. The second thing that I would like to talk about today, which will not take me as long to explain, is that people are grieving. And I don't just mean those who are agonisingly losing loved ones, but in general right now, people are grieving the life that they used to have. We have lost it, albeit temporarily, but we have. And we have every right to miss that and be sad about it, that we can't hug our loved ones, that we can't sit in a cafe with a book, that we can't people watch or go to the beach. Grief is a tricky thing, but if you've had a feeling over the last few weeks that you haven't quite been able to put your hand on or your finger on, either one, or you have had bouts of sadness that you don't quite understand the origin of, then this might be why. It could well be grief. And something that most of you probably already know, grief is exhausting. We struggle to sleep, we get odd aches all over our bodies, and our brains are foggy. So join that together with the physiological and psychological effects of stress and trauma on the body, and you get a lot of tiredness, fatigue, exhaustion. Yes, I'm saying they're different things. Lack of concentration, focus, difficulty in keeping routines, struggling to maintain workouts you had before. Those of us who are at home and safe and have not contracted the virus, we may be healthy, but things are still going on, and going on in a way that most of us have probably not experienced before, or have in stressful situations, but they haven't happened before within ourselves for an extended period of time. Those of us with chronic illness have a little bit of experience with it, but that's for another day. But if you have been feeling more tired, this is probably the reason why. So I would like you to please cut yourself some slack and try to ignore the pressure to be productive that seems to be everywhere right now, that seems to be preaching that we have to make the best out of this opportunity. I mean, some of the posts that I've seen list things that you can be doing during this time, but it's completely okay if you don't want to or don't feel able to do those things. And if you are doing something because you feel like you should be, give yourself permission to stop. Show yourself some compassion. Give yourself a hug. Have a nap. Rest. Skip virtual yoga this week. Buy that chocolate. Lie on the floor staring up at the ceiling. Sob. Crying releases stress hormones, so that one might actually be chemically productive. Do whatever is going to help you get through this very strange, never encountered before situation. But more importantly, don't do anything that might hinder that. And by hinder that, I mean stress you out even more or make you feel like you should be doing more than you are. Some people are pushing to make the best out of this situation and are sticking to a routine, and I'm not knocking that. I think it's great if that's what works for you, and it is going to work for a lot of people. But for other people, just getting through the situation is okay too. I would like to quote Matt Haig here, because he said something rather apt this week on Instagram. Sometimes you can just live and feel and fail and sit there surviving. And I personally think if we can do that, then we're going to be okay. So please cut yourself some slack. If you want to lie on the floor and stare at the ceiling, that's okay. And I hope this video has helped you to understand a bit better why you might be feeling more tired and why you're struggling to focus and concentrate on things, why you're struggling to get through your usual workout. There's stuff going on. There's stuff going on chemically in our bodies that we're not used to. So I hope this video has helped. If it resonates and you think it might resonate with other people, then please give it a like and a share. Subscribe if you want to keep up with my Isolation Station mini-series. Stay safe, stay home, be kind to yourself and one another, and I will see you next time.